What is up, spooky people? Welcome to another episode of Oddity Acres. Today we are in Valley City, or right in Medina County, Ohio. We are in another graveyard, go figure. Welcome to Oddity Acres. We have a really interesting story for you today. In this graveyard, there is a specific circular stone that holds a lot of Ohio legend and lore. It's said to be that there's a woman buried there, a witch, that was tormented in life, and she was abused, and she decided to seek revenge. She dabbled with the dark arts and the spirits, practiced witchcraft around the woods around the cemetery, and she decided that she was going to seek her revenge by poisoning her entire family in the well in their water supply, and when the bodies stacked up, she dumped them down into the well. Now, fast forwarding many years later, they say that she died in the state mental hospital, and they relocated her body from the state hospital cemetery and brought it right here, buried it under the circular stone. And it says that the stone has soaked up all of her evil, all of her resentment, all of her pain. And it says that, legend says that if you touch it in the wintertime, it's warm to the touch, it's cold to the touch in the summertime, and if you touch it, bad things will come to you. So this is a local legend that's been going on for years and years and years. Forever, people have dared each other to come out here and touch the rock, to go near the rock, to dabble into this little legend and lore. So we're going to come check it out. However, that's just a legend, and that's just a scary story. But hey, we do legends and scary stories here at Oddity Acres. So let me tell you the real story. Stay tuned. So here we are. This is the famous Witch's Ball from Myrtle Hill Cemetery. This is actually just a family plot. Nothing spooky about this. But what's crazy is that right behind me is where our story begins. And this, however, the one that I'm about to tell you, is a true story. Oh my God. It's freezing, just like out here. Now, even though that's just a story about this ball, it's just a random monument, but it is very cool to see it. It is very cool. I love the local legend and lore. That's what you guys come here for. So, you know, it's fun to kind of share that. And I mean, that's how these stories get passed along. They're a fun campfire story, and they captivate people, and they make your imagination really run wild. And I like it. I love it. I think that those things are fun. I've always enjoyed those things. That's why I do this channel. So, you know, this is it. This is the ball, in case you guys are wondering. All right, so our story starts with a woman named Martha Wise, originally Martha Hazel. She was also known as the Borgia of America, and she was a 39-year-old widow who fell deeply in love with a man that their family absolutely forbid her to marry, absolutely forbid her to continue a relationship with, and this set off a very dark chain of events. She devised a plan to kill her family one by one, and 3 were actually dead before the family got suspicious and started reporting things to the authorities. She did actually poison the water with arsenic, which is probably why the story of the Witch's Ball has gained so much notoriety. This has been a story that was taken from truth, from actual history, and warped and turned into a spooky story about a completely different grave. So when questioned, she actually confessed to the murders and even to burning down some barns in the area. You know, she was a severely mentally ill woman, obviously, to commit these murders. And, you know, so she confessed to all these things, and on trial, she said, "The devil made me do it." Now, Martha was born in 1884 in Medina County, Ohio, and not much else was known about her upbringing. Just like a lot of other people at that time, she was part of a homestead. She farmed, she worked with the family, and that was it. So pretty much to our knowledge, a standard upbringing. In 1906, she met her husband, Albert Wise, and even though the marriage was extremely unhappy, there was a lot of abuse going on, she moved on to his 50-acre farm here in Medina County. And throughout this marriage, she quickly discovered that she was expected to be a farmhand more than a wife, taking part in the daily chores like plowing the fields, butchering the hogs, all that stuff, even when she was pregnant. And that was on top of her wifely household duties, the cooking, the cleaning, and all that stuff. She was absolutely abused by Albert, which did not add to, didn't add any help to her mental state, her mental illness, and all the trauma that she had gone through. Now, the couple's first child, Albert Jr., did not survive infancy, but their other children did. And that was Everett, Gertrude, Kenneth, and Lester. So this is where things start to take a little bit of a turn. So to kind of avoid, all the pain that was going on in her household, she started to attend funerals, whether she knew the people or not. Every local funeral, she would be there, and she would absolutely break down in these funerals. She would cry. This was, I guess, her way of coping, but she became absolutely obsessed with the thought of death and the funeral practice and graveyards and things like that. So you kind of see where a lot of the story is going, why it relates to the local legend here. Who walks around graveyards for fun? Now, Albert died in 1923 suddenly, and leaving Martha with the children, completely a widow. Now, within a year of Albert's death, Martha found a new love interest. His name was Walter Johns, and he had a farm adjacent to the family property, and she fell deeply in love. And the family absolutely forbid it. The age difference was completely not the normal in that time period, and the entire family said, you're forbidden to marry him. And back then, too, they kind of believed that even though you were a widow, you were still married. You still had kids. You were still part of a marriage that, needs to be upheld whether or not you have a husband that's alive on this earth or not. Because of all the turmoil that it caused, the relationship ended that year, and Johns moved up to the Cleveland area, and Martha and Johns lost touch. So that left Martha with all her rage and resentment and pain, and that year, Thanksgiving of 1924, is when she decided to take matters into her own hands. So what she did was she invited her entire family over for Thanksgiving, and she poisoned the water with arsenic. Now, obviously, everybody in her family got very, very ill with horrible stomach pains. Arsenic is just such a horrible thing. I mean, it's a bad way to go. It literally tears up your insides. You're vomiting. It's much like the flu symptoms, but you get blood in your intestines and all that stuff. It's absolutely just horrendous. But to her surprise, a lot of family members did recover from that, except for her mother, Sophie Hazel, who died from it on December 13th, 1924. New Year's of 1925, Martha continued her rampage, and her uncle and his wife Lillian soon fell sick as well, along with their children, and started to experience a lot of the same illness and vomiting and nausea and all those symptoms that Sophie was experiencing. The members of the family were hospitalized, but Lillian and Fred would both die February 1925. In total, 17 relatives fell ill and were taken to the hospital in the fall and winter of 1924 and 1925. And 4 of the Yankee children were left partially paralyzed for their entire lives because of this mysterious illness that they did not know at the time. Once people started to notice the frequency of these deaths surrounding Martha, the authorities started to investigate. And the county sheriff at the time, Fred Rashawn, found out that she had signed at the drugstore for large quantities of arsenic. Now, after an autopsy of Lillian Genke, they did find traces of arsenic in her digestive tract, and Martha was brought in for questioning. At first, she said that she had purchased the arsenic to combat rats. That was a very popular thing at the time, and arsenic was fairly easy to get a hold of for that reason, especially out here in the country. A lot of people had homesteads rather, and farms, and they would purchase arsenic to keep the rats out of their, different barns and that kind of stuff. Eventually, though, she figured out that she was caught, and she did admit to putting arsenic in the family water supply, in the coffee pots, and in the water barrels that the family drank out of. Now, during her trial, despite her confession, she did plead not guilty to killing Lillian, and she was saying that she was mentally ill, criminally insane, and that she had this unwavering addiction to attending funerals, and there was just simply not enough funerals in the town, and that she had to create more deaths to create more funerals. On April 7th, 1925, Martha was indicted on first-degree murder, and the trial began. On May 4th, 1925, the trial officially began, and the defense really argued for the criminally insane plea, and that she actually was ordered to commit the murders by her former lover, Walter Johns. Now, that case really started to fall apart, and even one of her children, Lester, and 3 of the Genki children actually testified against her in court. After 1 hour of deliberation, she was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Now, Martha served her time at Marysville Prison for Women here in Ohio, and she had actually a good prison life. She thrived there. That was the first time that she was actually in a place where she wasn't being abused by her family. I mean, the torment and things that she would have went through in prison were nothing compared to what she had in life, and she actually did very well. She seemed to really like it there. And in 1962, her sentence was commuted to second-degree murder, and she was actually paroled at 79 years of age. Now, because she had no remaining family, and the ones that she did refused to take her in, obviously, she actually returned to prison the day after. Years would go on, and she would die in prison June 28th, 1971. Now, Martha is actually buried out at the Marysville Reformatory Cemetery area out there, so she's not in the same cemetery from her hometown where everybody else is, but her victims are, and I want to take you over there and show you their stones. So this is the Hazel family plot. This is where Martha's parents are buried, and Martha's first victim, her mother, Sophia Genki. And this is her headstone right here. Not too far from there is where her aunt and uncle, Fred and Lillian, are buried next to each other here on their plot. So Martha Wise was one of Ohio's infamous serial killers. I know that people say Ohio is a big serial killer state. I know Jeffrey Dahmer lived here for a brief period of time, but a lot of his most infamous crimes happened in Milwaukee, not here. I think his first murder happened here over in Bath, Ohio, but we should do a vlog there sometime. But yeah, this is where it happened, and this is the town that it happened in, Medina County, and this is where the victims are buried. It's crazy to think that the infamous Witch's Ball, the Ohio legend, the local ghost story, draws so many comparable story notes to the true story, and that they are so close together. It's crazy. People that are coming here, whether it be the kids that are just exploring the ghost story and having fun, or if it's paranormal investigators or whatever, people that want to investigate this location because of its local legend and lore. It's so crazy how, they're coming here for this very cool little monument. I mean, it's a pretty monument, but if they were to just turn around, they'd have the entire true history right in front of their face. We do the research here for you guys, so that way, when you come here, you can check out the Witch's Ball, but you'll know the story of Martha Wise. Thank you for watching another episode of Oddity Acres. We will see you next time. Stay scared.